This is a continuous improvement movement reserved for the few with the grit to prove it. Everybody.
Good morning. This is Maria, and I am here with my co host Calvin Williams, and this is the Ticket to Freedom podcast. On this podcast, we discuss continuous improvement as it pertains to current events. And today, we are going to talk about an article just released by Quality Magazine called Nearly 2 million manufacturing jobs may remain unfulfilled due to the skills gap. So, Calvin, a lot of manufacturers are not being able to fulfill these jobs that are needed for them to run at peak performance. What have been your experiences in this subject?
This may just be the number one challenge that every manufacturer that I work with, that I'm close to, that I've worked for over the last quite a while, that they face. And it's maybe for a couple of reasons. One is there is a pretty significant effort to move more manufacturing back to the States. The U.S. birth rate is declining, if I have heard
You're right.
correctly, if I'm well informed. And yeah, there is a skills gap. Manufacturing, which, in a way betrayed us in the past, is not viewed as so sexy anymore, right? The perception of manufacturing, working in a manufacturing career, working on a plant floor in a factory is dark, dirty, and dangerous. And for that 18-year-old who's deciding, how they're going to make their way in this world, they're looking at that and thinking, well, I could drive a Uber, right? Or a Lyft car and at least get to see some
Instacart.
sunlight. So,
Mhm.
right. So, there's a lot of options. The economy has expanded and provided many ways to thrive, and hell, a lot of them are becoming YouTube influencers too. So, or TikTok or whatever it is. So, yeah, with so many options that a person can take to expand their career and provide for themselves and their families. Manufacturing is kind of looked at as a thing of the past. It's not something people are so proud of.
Yes, I agree. This whole subject totally blows my mind because there are so many variables and so many things that are changing because, okay, manufacturers are reshoring to America, which is an amazing thing,
Yeah.
uh, for several reasons. I mean, the economy grows, we can provide more employment, we can, you remember that disaster of COVID-19? We didn't have toilet paper and the
Oh,
supply
that little.
chain was in shambles. So
Yeah,
this
right.
provides a little bit more security because we are in charge of that supply chain and we can
Mm,
monitor quality more closely. So I love that. It builds community, it builds country. Amazing, right?
right.
But the National Association of Manufacturers Outlook did a study, and 65% of the respondents said that they can fulfill these empty seats because of shortage and skills gap. What do you
Mm.
see manufacturers doing, or what are some of the solutions that people are approaching to solve this problem?
Yeah, there are a lot. And there's every reason, to your point, every reason for the the country, the government, the city, state, local, the business community, even consumers. There's every reason to support American manufacturing, right? We're talking US. So um now the question is, if I'm 18, I'm not thinking about government, country, state, city, county, right, town, right? I'm not thinking to give my life to that, right? At 18, I'm thinking, I got to get out of my parents' house, right? Like immediately.
Right.
So what's the smartest way to do that? So I think the way to really move manufacturing forward. If that's such a heck yeah everywhere, right? Everybody agrees. You got to figure, you got to make the case to that 18-year-old. So some of the things I've seen, and I would say there's a overarching best practice, and that's meeting them where they are, meeting that 18-year-old where he or she is, right? And making the case to them and helping them see a path forward that's viable and lucrative for them in manufacturing and why it's better than all of the other options, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Apprenticeship programs. I've seen even manufacturers partnering with like elementary schools to show them engineering and STEM and all the things that goes into manufacturing, right? Because if you think about manufacturing, what it is it's doing business at scale. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of engineering and a lot of math and a lot of science that goes into taking good work and doing it at a scale, right, where you can
Mm-hmm.
service a large portion of the consumer base. So the other thing that's fascinating about manufacturing is that it's one of the few fields still that you can start at the bottom on the shop floor and work your way up. I see people uh, that go move into supervisory and management and upper management roles that start out on the shop floor. Sometimes they do go and get their, bachelor's degree that's paid for by the company a lot of time and work their way up through the company. And the thing about manufacturing is there's a long way up, right? You can go up pretty high, right? We're talking billion, decabillion, 20 billion, $50 billion companies.
Mm-hmm.
And you can be CEO one day, starting from the shop floor, right? Obviously, it's a path that not everybody travels. You really got to be on point to do that, but the path is there. So, um, very few other types of career paths can provide that for you. So, and probably one of the biggest kind of in line with that point is professional development. Is Manufacturing companies tend to be pretty good about either providing financial aid assistance or financial tuition assistance programs, training their people. Manufacturing, generally speaking, is a very stable work environment. So they
Mm-hmm.
tend to invest more in their people over time. And heck, it's an excellent training ground. And even certification programs like Lean and Six Sigma, right? Obviously, that's near and dear to my heart, but certainly in the manufacturing environment, you're gonna get the opportunity to grow yourself professionally. And again, there's a long way up too, right, for you to grow in your career. So yeah, that's me making my pitch to that 18-year-old. But get creative, find a way to get to them even
Mm-hmm.
even before they're 18, find a way to get to them.
Right, right. Yeah, I think there is like this heavy work of rebranding that
Yeah,
manufacturers are having to
right.
do. Because we have that perception, okay, most of manufacturing left overseas. And when we think about overseas manufacturing, we think about those low wage employees. We think about
Mm,
sweatshops. We think about even going as far as slave labor. So the perception is very negative. But
mm,
manufacturing is such an important piece of society, period.
absolutely. It's critical.
It's
Yeah, I think
critical.
that perception of dark, dirty, and dangerous is a problem. And it's
Mhm,
it's unfortunately still true for a lot of factories. So if you're running a manufacturing company, pick up a book on 5S, right? Get the place clean. Make sure it's
mhm,
a safe working environment. Make sure it's well lit so people feel like very proud to go in there and that they get the privilege of working in a world-class environment like that. So
mhm,
that's part of the reason I'm such a big believer in Lean and Six Sigma because if you're on the TPM track, for example, total productive maintenance,
mhm,
step zero on TPM is 5S, right? Clean the place up, right? There is a direct correlation between cleanliness and productivity, and also a direct correlation between cleanliness and happiness. There's just a ton of opportunity to clean up the branding of what, you know,
mhm.
um, manufacturing is also one of the places you'll get exposed to some really high level, high value engineering. Some of the most fascinating things on the planet are happening in factories, right?
Yes.
We talk
We
about
love
robots with
visiting.
AI and all the rest.
I know we love
Yeah,
visiting all these manufacturing plants. I always think this is funny, but when we do plant tours and visit these manufacturing environments, I always want to get out of there with some exciting machine. And it's like, oh, I wish I could have this
absolutely,
machine in
right?
my
I want to go buy
garage.
me a machine. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yes, yes.
So,
But okay, so look, we've talked about um rebranding, and we've talked about the efforts that manufacturers are pursuing to attract people, like
mm,
going to the schools, partnering with universities, teaching the skills at the high school level. So they're going out of their way to get this done. And we also talk about certifications, which is something that here in Improver is something close to our heart because we love upskilling people. So let's talk a
yeah.
little bit about that part, the certification part. So
Hmm.
some of the certification benefits that we see are customer loyalty and trust. We see or adding value to the organizational culture and to, improving processes, increase global competitiveness, which is something that we have to work on so hard because otherwise it wouldn't be possible to have manufacturing in America. We
It
really
wouldn't be
have to be
economic,
able to
right?
compete. And of
Right.
course, future proofing, because when you educate yourself and when you're adaptable and you're always evolving, you are changing with the times.
Hmm.
So, what do you think about the importance of certifications and upskilling in the manufacturing environment?
Yes, I'm all for it, right? I mean, knowledge is one of those things that you can't use it unless you have it, and it never hurts you to have it. So get it, right? It's going to help you now or later. So I'll speak to this in terms of Lean and Six Sigma. Most programs, approach Lean Six Sigma like, hey, send one guy off and get him certified. He's going to come back and
Right.
transform everything, right?
Mhm.
And that's not a realistic expectation of anyone, right? No one in the company has that kind of power and influence to drive that type of change. So really you got to approach, Lean Six Sigma upskilling from everybody everyday mindset, right? Which
Mhm.
uh it's the ones that you leave behind are the ones that's going to pull everybody else back, right? So you got to bring everybody forward. And this is why, the way we've approached Lean Six Sigma and Lean Six Sigma certifications and enterprise LSS programs is we've set it up where we're leveraging technology, we're leveraging all the latest and greatest tools to enable you to step your entire organization forward together, meaning everybody gets certified on the level that's appropriate to their level of responsibility in the company. So um, on one part, everybody gets white belt, yellow belt, and then you got a certain select group that goes green belt. We usually see people at the supervisory level getting at least green belt. And then we got black and master black. And I'm talking about us, but there's some science and there's some rationale behind the reason we do this, right?
Mhm.
Black belt is more not designed for bigger, more technical projects, but more designed for teaching leaders to be coaches. And that's important because through coaching, you can also influence and you can drive that skill set of uh, execution of continuous improvement, projects and initiatives to scale, right? You can scale up how many people are driving CI, right? Ultimately, you want everybody every day if you want to truly drive that Kaizen culture. And then the master black belt is not, again, more technical, bigger projects, although it could go that way. But the focus is more on our side. The focus is more on how do I teach my black belts to be better coaches.
Mhm.
It's almost like teaching someone to drive, right? You can't grab the wheel yourself. You got to teach them how to drive. So coaching is probably one of the biggest leadership skills gap out there. And if leaders, could develop and master that skill at a greater scale, obviously it brings everybody else up as well, right? Lifts the entire capability set of an organization. So talking about upskilling, across an entire organization all at once. So I'm a huge proponent of developing people. I've had some of the greatest coaches that have ever lived, in my opinion. And in the field of lean and continuous improvement, also sports and those things too, growing up. So I certainly understand the value of how to develop people, right, to an elite level. And if you're truly shooting for operational excellence, you also are shooting for elite level performance.
Yes, Calvin, thank you so much. That is always, I just love when you talk about getting everybody involved in continuous improvement because it's just a mindset shift. Because we do see a lot that lone ranger trying to change everything by himself and then leaving the company a year later because it's not up to him to get it done.
Ultimately, yeah,
He
it's
can
one of
do
those
that.
things like, hey, we're gonna delegate responsibility, but we're gonna keep all the authority, right? To
Mhm,
to
mhm,
actually
mhm.
drive this transformation, we're gonna keep that authority, but we're gonna make this one person responsible. And
Right.
it's a it's not really the ideal way to set someone up or set the initiative up.
So with this, I just want to say, support American manufacturing. Choose something that you are going to purchase 100% made in USA. And then obviously upskill your people, future-proof your company,
Mm.
and get in that cycle of improving something important every single day, involving everybody in the organization. Do you
Yep.
have anything
And
else to say, Calvin, to close
I
this
would
up
say
on
I
this
would say we
beautiful Wednesday?
I would say we throw that word world class around a lot, but I think there is something to it that, this perception of dark, dirty, and dangerous, uh, strive for world class, where it's just the opposite, right? And I think it goes toward that branding manufacturing as a place to be proud and to have the opportunity to work versus, something you're doing to pass the time or
Absolutely.
not doing.
Or not
Right.
doing. That's right.
So
That's right. With that, this is the Ticket to Freedom podcast, and we'll hope to see you again tomorrow. Thank you so much.
thank you. Take care.
Just in time, not a second slow. From the top flow to the shop flow, come on. Everybody, let's go.